This is the Ramana Maharshi Self-Knowledge Satsang, a time for self-reflection and self-inquiry. Know yourself and be always free and at peace. Welcome. I'm Richard Clarke, hosting this satsang. I'm a seeker like you, sharing what we love. I have been blessed with years of deep teaching, so in this satsang, I offer this to you. The background image today is Ramana with Lakshmi, the cow. Ramana had an extraordinary relationship with animals. Lakshmi is a great example of this. This is what Osho had to say about Ramana and Lakshmi. Quote, every morning he was sitting, people were sitting, and a cow would come and stand outside, putting her neck through the window, and would remain standing there while the satsang lasted. It must have continued for years. People came and went, new people came, but the cow remained constant. And at the exact time, never late. And as the satsang would disperse, she would move away. One day, she did not appear, and Sri Ramana said, today, satsang cannot be held because my real audience is absent. I'm afraid either the cow is very sick or she has died, and I have to go and look for her. He lived on a mountain in the south of India, Arunachala. The cow belonged to a poor woodcutter who lived near the ashram. Ramana left the temple where they used to meet and went to the woodcutter and asked, what happened? The cow has not come today for satsang. The woodcutter said, she is very sick, and I'm afraid she's dying. But she goes on looking out the door as if she's waiting for someone. Perhaps she is waiting for you to see you for the last time. Perhaps that's why she's hanging around a little longer. Ramana went in, and there were tears in the eyes of the cow, and she died happily, putting her head in the lap of Ramana Maharshi. This happened just in this century, and Ramana declared her enlightened and told people that a beautiful memorial should be made for her. It's very rare for a human being to be enlightened. It's almost impossibly rare for animals to become enlightened, but the cow attained. She will not be born again. From the body of the cow, she has bypassed the whole world of humanity, and she has jumped ahead and joined with the Buddhas. So once in a while, there are a few instances only it has happened, but that cannot be called the rule. It's just the exception. End quote. Osho did not say it, but Ramana used the same practice he had used on his mother at the time of her death, with one hand on her head and the other on her heart, connecting her mind and heart. So through this, Lakshmi and Ramana's mothers were both enlightened, self-realized at the time of their death. Lakshmi was buried in a shrine on the ashram grounds, just like his mother. When I first entered Ramana Ashram and went into the old hall where Ramana sat and talked for many years, I just fell to the floor, eyes full of tears. This didn't surprise me, though. But when I went further into the ashram grounds and came to Lakshmi's samadhi, her grave and shrine, the same thing happened. I didn't know I had this connection with Lakshmi, but I guess I did. Here are some more pictures of Ramana and Lakshmi. This is Ramana with Lakshmi the calf. This is Ramana with Lakshmi again, and it must be some festival like Cow Pongal, because the cow is decorated in a fashion typical of India at that time and place. This is Ramana with Lakshmi going up the path to Skandinashram and to Arunachala. Now, Ramana would walk on this path every day, and he only had a few attendants. That was one of the rules of the ashram, is Ramana got to make this kind of walk alone, except it looks like sometimes Lakshmi would join him for a bit. So that's Ramana and Lakshmi. And now on with the regular program. This series is a paragraph-by-paragraph review of Ramana's seminal book, Who Am I? And this is the version that's edited by Ramana himself. We're on paragraph 22, and these are Ramana's words. When the mind is split up and dissipated into countless varying thoughts, each individual thought becomes extremely weak and inefficient. When, on the contrary, such thoughts subside more and more until they finally get destroyed, the mind becomes one-pointed, and thereby acquiring strength and power of endurance, easily reaches perfection in the method of inquiry, in quest of the self. Now, Ramana says here that the seeker can learn to gain increased concentration and focus, and use this focus to quiet the mind. Ramana shows that this is a process and that progress occurs if you keep it up. Ramana also says that gaining the power of a concentrated mind is important to inquiry. It's an aid to inquiry. It's not the inquiry itself. As an example, take your mind right now. Can you keep it still? Probably not. This takes a concentrated mind. Ramana taught that in inquiry, when a thought comes, to stop it in its tracks and ask something like, for whom is this thought? The answer is obvious. It is for me. You then return to the inquiry. You use this again to ask, well, who am I? When you do this, it can be like diving into a pool of cool water. Such a relief. As you learn to do this again and again, you start to get a concentrated mind. You will find that no matter how hard you try, you cannot keep the mind still. You can pause it, but you can't still it. It is possible to see, though, that the mind was never real to begin with. This halts the mind in its tracks. The mind needs something objective to hold to, and your existence, your being, is never objective. So if you keep the inquiry up, your mind just falls away. It doesn't have anything to hold on to. The mind is ever moving, ever changing. The consciousness, your consciousness, is always and remains constant. When you ask, who am I? You start to see after a while that you must be what is always there. That is your direct experience of existence. It's always there, and it's always the same. You cannot be any of that which is always changing. It is what is always here and what is always now. Now, some practice notes. What is your spiritual practice like? Now, Nome would say that periodically you should examine your practice and see what is working and what is not working, and be willing to change it. It is in practice that most seekers start learning about their own mind and their own habits. It is in practice that the seeker starts gaining the strength of mind needed for more practice. It is in practice that you experience and go beyond your mind. Here's a poem I heard once I think that is relevant here. You should be grateful for your power to make choices. Saying nothing can be done denies the gifts that have been given. So when you praise your power to make choices, you get your reward, which is more power for choosing. Now, on to our videos for the week. First is Swami Sarvapriyanada, and he is talking about the highest.
It is not a sermon, it is not a philosophy lecture. I'm going to speak about the highest non-dual truth from the highest non-dual text available to us, the Ashtavakra. This is the book which Sri Ramakrishna taught only Swami Vivekananda. There's a difference in this text. There are texts which talk to the heart, spiritual teachings which talk to the heart, to the emotions. There are spiritual teachings which talk to the mind, to the intellect. And there are these teachings which bypass both, which talk directly to the God within us. It goes straight to the truth and tells you that the central truth that you are none other than God. Tat tvam asi, that thou art. If you cannot have Nirvikalpa Samadhi, you can read this book. Read it for an hour or 2 hours. It's as good as the most intense meditation for hours and hours together. You look at a mirror, you see your face staring back at you. Look at this mirror, you will see the face of God. Listen, you must. Understand, good. But really what I would like all of us to do is to recognize, is to appreciate it, is to see that it is the truth. If you listen to it, and automatically the reaction is to give it to the mind. If you give it to the mind, one of two things will happen. Either the mind will say, yes, I understand it. Or the mind will say, no, I don't get it. Both are equally useless. So the great sage Ashtavakra is saying, you are never ever attached to anything in this universe. O pure one, what are you trying to give up? Merging the body-mind complex in this way, thus dissolve into infinity. What does it mean? Everything passes away. Look at the places you have lived in from your childhood till now. Places you have lived in, you have played in, the schools, your college, your house, and the places you have visited, countries you have seen. How it has changed from place to place to place. The people you have known, not only in this life. Hindus, Buddhists, we believe in many lives. So many fathers and mothers and grandfathers and grandmothers and husbands and wives and children and grandchildren, friends and enemies, people you have been indifferent to, life after life, they have all gone. They have all gone. Possessions, the most treasured and the most insignificant, all come and gone. Everything that is now here today, including this day, the setting sun is telling us just one thing, it will go. Vivekananda says, kings die and paupers die. The most learned die and the most ignorant die. The richest people die and the poorest die. The strongest die and the weakest die. Everyone dies. All of us, our bodies will die one day. We know that. What it means is that nothing sticks to you. You are not attached to anything. You're not attached to anything in this universe. You see, the impermanence of things means that one, you who are experiencing these things, you are not attached to anything. They come and go. You will say, that's not true, Swami. I've got so many attached to my wealth, my house, my children, my enemies. What would I do without my enemies? How could I pass my time? My opinions, my political views, my career, I'm attached to so many things. My body, my health, my youth, I'm attached to so many things. No, you're not. Think of the greatest possible attachment this world can ever see. The attachment of a mother for her young baby, a new child. And yet every night when she falls asleep, she slips into the unknowingness of deep sleep. Where the world, her most precious baby, her own body, everything is forgotten in deep sleep. And she goes into that state without hesitation. She doesn't think, oh, I'm leaving my baby behind, what will happen? No. I'm not saying that you should not be attached. Ashtavakra is telling us you are not attached. You are not attached to anything. It is the mind which develops attachments. I want this to stay. I want that person to stay. I want these circumstances, this wealth, this health, this place, this environment. I want this to continue. This is the mind thinking. Yet beyond the mind, the Atman, the witness, you, the being consciousness, you are not attached to anything. Not even to the mind itself. The mind itself disappears in deep sleep. You are not attached to anything. William Blake, he who grasps a pleasure doth kill the winged life. But he who kisses the passing moment as it flies lives forever in eternity's sunshine. When you kiss the moment as it flies and let it go, you live forever in eternity's sunshine. How beautiful, William Blake. You see, the moment you grasp something, we think we are holding on to something, some person, some possession, some idea. The moment I grasp, you know what is happening? I'm also caught. I'm also caught. As I'm holding on to this, if you now start dragging the lectern, I'll be dragged along with it because I'm caught now. Reflect upon it. What has stuck to you in life? Nothing. You say, bad habits, Swami? Bad habits were not there earlier. You developed it. Even today when you go into deep sleep, not there. It's only when you wake up, the mind comes up. The habits are in the mind and the body. When you become aware of them, then you're aware of them again. Even there also you're not stuck to it. You, the witness of the mind, is not stuck to anything in the body and mind. Now, this body and this mind, is it you? Is it even a part of you? We would say that, yeah, that's who I am. And so all the problems of body and mind are my problems. And yet, every day when we fall asleep, when we dream, we completely forget this body and we forget the waking world. That I am safe and sound in my bed and this is my waking world, my whole biodata, all that is gone and the dream world comes before us. You might say, oh Swami, we're just dreaming. But what Vedanta points out is, look at your experience in the dream. You are there in the dream. It may be a dream, it may be false, but you are experiencing it. And your experience of a self, a conscious self, continues without any reference to the waking body, which is dreaming, which is sleeping in bed. The body of the waking state, this body, is sleeping in bed. You are having a conscious experience of a dream, which proves to you, you as a conscious being can continue without reference to the physical body. Though you are acting through the body, you're using the body is there, you're not it. You're not attached to it permanently. The mind, with which we identify ourselves completely. As we go into deep sleep, the mind shuts down, no dreams. No dreams, absolute quiet. You see, I slept like a log. Which means no mind, no dreams. Yet who slept? Vedanta says, you are still there because the mind is not there. There are no experiences. You require the mind and the senses and the body for experiences, or at least the mind for experiences. No mind, mind is shut down, hence you do not have conscious experiences. Consciousness without experience. Consciousness without object. A blankness, a darkness. But yet it means you were there. If you are not there, then who slept? How can you say that I slept soundly? What was it that slept soundly? What was it that experienced sound sleep? You are that which experiences the presence of the mind. You are that which experiences the absence of the mind in deep sleep. This is what yogis do. We fall asleep, they fall asleep consciously. They strip away the external world by quietening the senses. They quieten the body down to lose awareness of the body. They quieten the mind down, isolating the consciousness which is behind the mind. Where the witness, the infinite consciousness which is the witness, remains in its own nature, in samadhi. Proving then, you are not even the mind. Even the mind is not attached to you. You're not attached to the mind either. The mind which is now listening to this, which likes this idea, not attached to that mind either. It appears to you. The mind which does not get this idea, is uneasy about this idea, you're not attached to that either. It's just a mind. You are not attached to this body. You're not attached to the mind. The body is there. You experience the changing body. The birth and the babyhood and the childhood and the teenage and the growth, youth, middle-aged, disease, decay, old age, death. All of this the body will undergo, not attached to you. Says, "O pure one, what are you trying to give up?" Very interesting. That one which is the witness of body and mind is pure. All impurity is in the world, in the body, in the mind. Not in that which is the witness of the mind. You are that which is the witness of the mind. You are forever pure. What are you trying to give up? Meaning thereby, you see, all our efforts to improve ourselves, to make ourselves more spiritual through prayer, through meditation, through good deeds, either we are adding something to ourselves. I need some virtues. I want to be selfless. I need to be more integrated. I need to be more loving or kind, unselfish. I'm adding virtues to make myself better. Or I'm getting rid of things which I think are very bad for me, non-spiritual. I am very restless. I give up the restlessness, quieten the mind and body down. Thereby thinking I'm improving myself. Here it's telling you, you are absolutely pure and perfect, that vast perfectness which you already are. You need not add anything to that, because something that is perfectly pure, if you add anything to it, no matter how good, you're making it impure. Something that is perfectly pure, there's nothing impure to give up there also. What are you going to add? What are you going to give up? Ashtavakra has the danger of being misunderstood. It does not mean you're going to give up your spiritual practices. Practices to make your life better will continue. Practices to make your life better will continue. Ramakrishna asked his master Totapuri, "You are an enlightened soul. You are enlightened. Why do you meditate so much every day?" And Totapuri said, he was a wandering monk, and he was completely naked, but he had this pot, water pot. And he said that, "Look at this water pot, brass. If I do not polish it, it will lose its shine." In the same way, enlightenment, of course. But the mind has to be immersed in the reality which the self is. I am Brahman. It has to be immersed in that every day so that it retains the light of enlightenment. It retains the shine of enlightenment. Of course, Sri Ramakrishna had to come back to that also. He said, but if the pot of gold, you wouldn't have to polish it. I think he was distinguishing between an avatar and an ordinary Jivan Mukta. What are you trying to add to yourself? You need not add anything to yourself, the Atman. You need not get rid of anything. That one which is the witness of body and mind, which is completely unattached to the world, to the people, to the events, to the body even, to the mind even, thoughts, ideas, memories. This verse, what we read just now, it can be summed up in one Sanskrit word, asangatvam. Asangatvam means non-attachment. Remember, non-attachment is taught as a practice, that you should not be attached to anything. Here, Ashtavakra is not teaching you a practice, it's telling you a fact about yourself. Your highest nature is non-attached. All phenomena arise in your consciousness, are experienced in your consciousness, disappear into your consciousness. The consciousness is not attached to any of it.
Now, I thought for today, since he talked so much about the Ashtavakra Gita, that I would read from it, and we'll spend a few minutes and I'll read chapter 1. It starts, "Master, how is knowledge to be achieved, detachment acquired, liberation attained?" Ashtavakra said, "To be free, shun the experiences of the senses like poison. Turn your attention to forgiveness, sincerity, kindness, simplicity, truth. You are not earth, water, fire, or air, nor are you empty space. Liberation is to know yourself as awareness alone, the witness of these. Abide in awareness with no illusion of person. You will instantly be free and at peace. You have no caste or duties. You are invisible, unattached, formless. You are the witness of all things. Be happy. Right and wrong, pleasure and pain exist in mind only. They are not your concern. You neither do nor enjoy. You are free. You are the solitary witness of all that is, forever free. Your only bondage is not seeing this. The thought, I am the doer, is the bite of the poisonous snake. To know I do nothing is the wisdom of faith. Be happy. A single understanding, I am the awareness, consumes all suffering as the fire of an instant. Be happy. You are unbounded awareness, bliss, supreme bliss, in which the universe appears like the mirage or a snake in a rope. Be happy. It is true what they say, you are what you think. If you think you are bound, then you're bound. If you think you are free, then you are free. You are the self, the solitary witness. You are perfect, all-pervading, true. You are free, desireless, forever still. The universe is but a seeming in you. Meditate on this. I am awareness alone, unity itself. Give up the idea that you are separate, a person, and there is within and without. You have long been bound, thinking, I'm a person. Let the knowledge I am awareness alone be the sword that frees you. You are now and forever the limitless, transparent, still. The practice of meditation keeps one in bondage. You are pure consciousness, the substance of the universe. The universe exists within you. Don't be small-minded. You are unconditioned, changeless, formless. You are solid, unfathomable, cool, desire nothing. You are consciousness. That which has form is not real. Only the formless is permanent. Once this is known, you will not return to illusion. Just as a mirror exists both within and without, the image reflected, the Supreme Self exists both within and without the body, just as the same space exists both within and without a jar, the timeless, all-pervasive. And now we will go to the Ribhu Gita and we will listen to uh, the reading of the Ribhu Gita. This was the book that they used extensively at Ramana Ashram. This was also a book that Carol and I used in our practice in India. We learned just to read a few verses aloud, and we would read to each other each evening from the Ribhu Gita. We would also take the book with us as we walked around the inner path of Arunachala, and we would sit someplace by the mountain and read from this book. We went through the book at least twice this way. And here we will hear someone reading from the Ribhu Gita, a section that all is consciousness. Meditate along with this.
All is that alone, consciousness and the undivided essence only, devoid of even the number one. All is awareness alone. This is all consciousness alone. All is indeed full of awareness. The reflection of the self, too, is consciousness alone. All is full of awareness indeed. All the world is consciousness alone. All is full of awareness indeed. Your being and my being, too, are consciousness alone. There isn't a thing besides awareness. Space, earth, water, air, fire, Brahma, Hari, Shiva. The least whatever of these, and even a trifle other than these, are all full of awareness indeed. Whatever consciousness there is, that is all undivided essence alone. The past and future are consciousness alone. All is only awareness indeed. Matter and time are consciousness only. Knowledge is full of consciousness indeed. The knowable and knowledge are awareness only. All is only awareness indeed. Talk is consciousness alone, and speech is full of consciousness indeed. Truth and untruth are consciousness alone. All is indeed awareness only. Consciousness is the beginning and the end of everything. Everything is full of consciousness by its very being. If there be Brahma, he is only awareness. Vishnu is indeed consciousness alone. Even Rudra and the celestials are consciousness only. Likewise, humans, animals, gods and demons, guru and disciple are being alone. Even knowledge is indeed consciousness only. Even the seer and the seen are consciousness only. So are the knower and the known, the fixed and the unfixed. All those things are also consciousness alone. The body is indeed only consciousness. Even the symbol is only consciousness, and so are cause and effect, form and formlessness, and thus virtue and sin are also consciousness alone. Duality and non-duality are consciousness only, and so are the Vedas and Vedanta. Even the directions and the directionless and their guardians are only consciousness. Transactions and such, past, future, and present, are awareness only. Name and form, these worlds, are only consciousness. Prana is indeed consciousness only. All the senses are awareness only. The five sheaths and such are only consciousness. Only consciousness is spoken of as bliss. The eternal and the ephemeral are consciousness only. All is indeed consciousness alone. There is nothing eternal except consciousness. There is nothing in truth except consciousness. Even dispassion is consciousness. This is consciousness only, you see. The supports, etc., are indeed awareness, and so are supported, O Great One. Whatever and however much there is consciousness only. Whatever and however much is seen far away is all indeed consciousness alone. Whatever and however many beings there be, whatever and however many are spoken of, whatever and however much is said by the Vedas, are all indeed awareness alone. There is no bondage, but consciousness alone. There is no liberation, but consciousness alone. This is the truth, verily the truth, in the name of Shiva. All that is said in the three Vedas is but consciousness only. Whatever is explained by Shiva to Kumara is told to you. Everyone who hears this even once becomes Brahman himself.
And we will listen to a short talk from Nome on inquiry.
What is your being when, abandoning any misidentification with the body, you do not give rise to the false assumption of individuality? The Vedas declare that this very self is Brahman. This self is Brahman. Qualityless, attributeless, limitless, formless, inconceivable, beginningless and endless. Of the nature of being, consciousness, bliss. Unborn and imperishable. Not to be conceived in any manner. Never perceived, yet all that is perceived. Absolutely one, without anything second to it whatsoever. And in similar ways is it described. To realize it conclusively is to be awake to truth. It is the knowledge of reality in which reality comprehends itself. This is the significance of self-knowledge. If you inquire, as the Maharshi has instructed, deeply within, who am I? What has just been indicated about your being will be self-evident. Abandon the misidentification with the body and similar false definitions, and inquire, who am I?
And finally, we'll meditate a little for ourselves, inquire. Breathe in and breathe out. Notice the breath as it comes in, as it goes out. Take long, slow breaths and feel the peace spread through your being. Now notice that you exist. You exist, and you know that you exist without thinking of it or feeling it. It comes from deep within. Then inquire, investigate within yourself. Are you the body? You know the body. Does the body know you? Are you the senses? Again, you know the senses. The senses don't sense you. Are you the life force, the prana, the energy flowing through your body, the beat of your heart, the breath moving in and out? All of these you know, all are objective to you. None of them know you. Are you the mind? Are you a thought? Which thought are you? Are you a bundle of thought? You know the thoughts. The thoughts get their power from you. How about the intellect? The intellect that makes a universe out of the thoughts and part of what the intellect creates is this idea of you as an individual person. You know that idea of yourself as an individual person. Otherwise, it wouldn't have any power. Are you the intellect? If I am not any of these, just who am I? All right, let's close with a short chant. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Thank you for watching today. If this satsang was of interest, I have more for you, a free book site, a YouTube site, and my blog. The URLs will be on the screen next. These satsangs will continue in the coming weeks with this series based on the Ramana Maharshi book, Who Am I?
You finished?
Yes.
Charlie's going to be here any minute.
Pardon?
Charlie is going to be here any